Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. Are you my sunshine, my one and only sunshine? Jack, good morning. Henry, good morning. Oh my goodness gracious balls of holy fart fires. How is everybody? Thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you for dropping your good word about the chat or in the chat. What the hell, you know what I'm talking about. We get set up here. It's a nice morning. It is only like 62 degrees here, but it doesn't feel cold. Maybe there's a southern breeze, so it's not as bad. So I'm sitting outside this morning. Daisy had to go pee. That's what Daisy's doing over there. So, and no, just so you know, that's not a beer that I cracked open. It's actually a canned juice. So I know it sounds like every morning I crack open a cold one. Hello, young Filipina bye. Oh man, my birds are mad at me. I had a bird eyeballing me earlier. I come outside earlier. I'm sitting here before I decided to uh, entertain myself with all of you wonderful people. I'm sitting out here thinking, gee, we got a lot to do today. And there's a couple of big birds. They're called doves. Sitting over by my bird feeder that has the camera. You guys probably can't see it, but let me point it to you. It's located right there in the corner of that fence. I got these. I need to put my cover on my cooking. I gotta see my dirty sink. I got a cover for it. I need to get somebody remind me today to put the cover on that dirty sink because the cool weather and the rain and stuff's going to be coming in, and I need to get that covered up. So somebody remind me to do that. That's y'all's job. But I'm sitting out here. Let me. My phone holder looks like I have a tendency. Do you guys have a tendency to break things? I have a real bad tendency to snap things for some reason. But anyway, I'm sitting out here. I notice the bigger dove of all the doves, because we got a bunch of doves, is sitting over there just staring at me like eyeballing me. And I like, oh, I realize both bird feeders are completely out of feed. And I bet you the little bird bath is out of feed, out of water. So they're probably just pissed off at me because I haven't been feeding them on a regular basis. Ah, thanks for the reminder, Henry. You don't know how much that means to me, but I do. And I need to, I got to go get more propane. Somebody remind me to, when I go to Walmart today, because we got to go to Walmart. Um, I got to get more propane so that I have plenty to go in my fire pit. I like birds, and I like bird watching. That was one of the. I feel like I'm crooked today. Am I crooked, or do I just look crooked? That was one of the things that I found extremely disappointed about living in the Philippines. I didn't get to bird watch, and I like to bird watch. I think it's fascinating to watch birds. Even seagulls and Henry knows this bird, the pelican, right? What do we call pelicans? Um, there's a derogatory name for pelicans that I've heard a whole bunch in Florida and Louisiana, Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, but I can't remember what it is. Who can guess what the derogatory name for a pelican is? If you figure it out, you get a free autographed picture of myself. So how is Henry doing this morning? How is Jack? How is Miss Filipina Bay in the province doing? You had a great live stream last night. I hope. I hope your channel keeps growing and is going up. I'm having a banana. Filipina, did Henry behave in the live stream last night? Your live stream, did he behave? We got 9 people in the house. Good morning. Let's make sure you give me a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Also, we need you guys to make some comments so we know who's all here, and so that YouTube won't send me a nasty letter telling me that I'm a bad host because I don't encourage you guys to chat. So if you guys, 9 people, can chat up, drop some chats throughout the course, I won't get a nasty email from YouTube. Henry says he's doing good. Henry, did you get any sleep? Oh my God. I was trying to sleep last night. I got so tired on y'all's live stream that I needed to go take a nap. And then, so I went to bed, right? And then here comes Lorelei. It wasn't 15 minutes later. She got off work early. And I'm like, oh my God, I just want to sleep. Okay, so Jack is saying a pelican is an Aussie slang for someone who is a clown, a fool. No, that's not it. That's interesting, and I didn't know that. So you can have an autographed picture of me because I didn't know that was what that was. I really didn't. I think that's great, fascinating, a pelican. But there's another term. It's kind of like how pigeons are called like rats with wings in big cities. Henry says, I think the trolls ran away from her stream. Well, I agree, because you're not going to get trolls all the time. I like trolls. I want trolls. And really want trolls because they're fun. But once they realize your channel's not, that they can't really troll your channel, then they don't come around anymore. Because you got to remember, I would say trolls are probably less than 1% or 1% of all the people that come around. I feel like I'm starting to bend my neck. I feel like I'm getting a bad habit of talking like this. No, there's another term for pelicans. I'm going to have to Google it because, but it has more to do kind of like where how people in big cities talk about pigeons being rats with wings. And I like when you go to the beach and people get mad at people for feeding the seagulls because the seagulls come and shit everywhere and make a lot of noise. And then people get mad, go, don't feed the seagulls. I'm like, look, this is my part of the beach, bitch. I'll feed the goddamn seagulls if I want. I'm going to invite you to shut up. I'm going to throw food over by you, make the seagulls come towards you and shit on you. So, not very nice of me, is it? Yeah. I mean, it's definitely good to have a sniper, a moderator that can do these things. But like we've talked about a bunch, take advantage. I had somebody email me last night. Scott, what is Scott's channel name, group name? We've known him a long time. Him and his wife, they're Australian. And he emailed me last night. And Scott and Arlene. And, but he emailed me. And he's like, oh, David, I just caught your live stream where you were talking about how to deal with trolls. He's like, I don't want to toot my own horn. But he's like, man, that's great advice. I never thought about handling trolls the way that you talk about handling them. And I told him, my goal is just to make my channel better and to grow it in whatever resource. And a troll can be a resource that you have, you should take advantage of. They're a tool. But I've had moderators who, to Henry, who wanted to get in and flex their muscle, so to speak, and zap people. I'm like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. And, you know, so no trolls. I know, I'm really surprised too, but there are 9 people hanging out in the background or somewhere with 5 thumbs up. Oh, man. I didn't want to make coffee. I'm having a really bad time with coffee. I can't get it right. So I'm drinking my juice this morning. Plus, it's not very cold. But so I got to feed my birds today. Got to remember to do that. Got to remember to get propane, to load it up and take it with us when we go to the Walmart. Exchange it so I have plenty of propane. I need to cover the sink with the thingamajiggy, the cover, and disconnect the water supply. I don't like doing that, but I have with a few. Yeah, you know, I'll tell you. Let's talk about that. You know, the only people that bother me on the trolls don't bother me. People that hate me don't bother me. The only ones that I have a thing about, Henry, Jack, everybody who's listening, are the liars. And I don't mean the troll liars where they're just lying to try to get a reaction. I have a problem with the YouTube channels or the people that come to streams acting like there's something that they're not, and they consistently do this. You know, and that's kind of like where one of my pet peeves was all of those like a RLDR, the romantic long distance relationship. You know, so I have pet peeve about people that lie about who they are, what they're doing, and they're consistent in it. So it's not just to get a troll or a reaction. We got 10 in the house, 5 thumbs up. If you guys are new, give us a thumbs up, a shout out. Tell the world that you have found the #1 YouTube spot in the world, and give us a thumbs up and leave us a chat. Chime in. Tell us how your beautiful morning is going. So, Henry, for me, I don't like the pretenders. I don't like people, for instance, let's say they act like they're a construction expert, but they've never worked construction. They don't work construction. They've never owned a construction company, but yet they're an expert on how to build everything. You know what I mean? The ones that pretend that they're married when they're not married, they pretend that they're an automotive expert when they may not even have a driver's license or whatever it may be. You know, now it's different for me if you got people that don't know how to do things, like they pretend or they like fishing and they don't know how to fish, but they're not pretending to be an expert. That's different. But if you're pretending to be some, I don't like. I don't like the lying. Um, that's what I don't like. I don't even care if people e-beg. I think it's funny and humorous, and I like it when rich people e-beg because that's how you get rich, I guess. But I don't even mind people e-begging. I don't mind the girls acting like whores. I mean, that's up to them. I don't mind anything like that. I don't like the racial stuff, and I don't like people picking on weak people. But on YouTube, what chaps my ass are the liars, the ones who just come out and they're lying, and they've done it, and they keep doing it, and they keep trying to live their lie. You know what I mean? And they think everybody's stupid enough that they're going to believe them, or maybe it's their own fantasy. You ready? Well, guess what time it is? Yep, I got to get the wiener up off the ground. Come on. Hurry up. Come on. I ain't got all day to wait on you. You ready? Oh, we need to get a ramp built out here. All right. I say hi to Daisy. All right, lay down, Daisy. So, those people are the ones that I feel bad for. I think are pathetic. Um, you know, I don't mind the people who don't want to talk about themselves or I don't want to say sugarcoat, but make light or or they don't fully share their situation. That's fine. You know, the people that keep information to themselves is fine. But if I'm coming on here and say, well, I know how to build a house, and I'm going to tell you how to build a house because I watch a YouTube video on it, so that makes me an expert. And I watch a whole bunch of home building shows, and so I'm part of the home building community. But yet, I don't own a home. I've never built a home. Never, you know. Legit, I am doing great. Good morning to you. How are you? Thank you for the thumbs up as you come in. Um, Mark, my good friend Mark here is in the house. It is hard to figure out the pretenders. And it is. It's one of the hardest things. And that's why you kind of got to listen close and take nothing anybody says seriously or as the truth. You know, in my background, you know, I taught college for 25 years and I did a private consulting business for 15 of those 25. And I give a lot of advice now. I have people that message me and pay me for helping them with different things that they need help with. I don't charge much because I don't think that's right. But I do that. I give a lot of advice. But I tell them, and everybody on here who've seen my live streams and videos about things, if you're on here, if you have a question and I answer your question, that's my opinion and my advice. And I encourage you to go find out for yourself, to go to the immigration.gov websites, to research what I have told you that our experience is, so it is truly what it is. Because there is so much misinformation on the internet. On YouTube is worse. I think there's a lot of people that want to feel good about themselves, so they talk out their ass, so to speak. And let me get everybody caught up. Miss Bai is saying hello to everybody. Legit says it's 45 p.m. in India. Outstanding. It is 9 a.m. in the United States. Mark saying hello. Jack said hello to Mark. And Legit. Henry, I know a lot about everything, but I still don't know anything. Well, Henry, and I'm the same way. I have, before my coma, people will tell you, I was actually a smart guy before my coma. I really, really was. I had a vast amount of knowledge that a lot of people just did not possess. But that still doesn't make me smart, so to speak. But what I mean is, it's one thing to say, my experience was when they built my house. We're going to go with the housing thing. That the electrician did this, and it didn't work, or it did work, or this is what was said. This was my experience. Versus to try to quote the electrical safety code like you know what the hell you're talking about when you're not an electrician, or a home builder or any, you know what I mean? Scotty's in the house. Legit says, hello guys, love y'all from India. Well, we like India too. What I want you to do for me, Legit, I want you to send out the fact that we are live to everybody in India. I know this is a big task, but I think you can do it. I know you can do it. I want you to tell all of your friends in India to go to my channel, subscribe to my channel, and always give thumbs up and watch my videos. That's what I want you to do for me, okay? Scotty, my good buddy Scotty's in the house. Good morning from here. Good evening to you there. I'm just waiting to fall asleep. So Scotty is getting ready to go to sleep, and he can't sleep. So he's turned on my live stream to listen to my voice to lull him to sleep. That's what my wife said. That's what my wife said. Legit just gave us a super chat this morning, or his evening, my morning. We thank you very, very much for that. And look, and to make you feel good, Legit, I'll tell you, I really appreciate it. The only reason we do this is because I'm trying to make a better future for my wife. We do love India. Oh my God, go get it, kill it, eat it, kill it. Hit. You know, we absolutely love Indian food. So, and well, we just love food. There's a bee. If I act like I got a bee in my butt, that's because there's a bee in my butt. It did. Your first super chat made it in. I'm not for sure what your dollar is called. You know, like the U.S. dollar. I'm not for sure what the. But yes, it definitely came through. Let me see if I can heart it. There you go. Did you see the heart I gave you? Oops. It came through. Miss Young Filipina Bai in the Providence needs to go to bed. She's like, I've been up all night. Need to wake up early for a church service. That's right. And she says, thank you, Legit, for sending Mr. Hartman some money. She appreciates you doing that. Good night, bye from Henry. Have a great day, everyone. God bless y'all. Henry wants to have 125,000 kids. Well, I know better with Henry. And the funny thing is, usually, and I'm not saying for sure because there are guys older than us that like to have young kids. But most of the time, when you get to be my age and Scotty's age, and my dog, my God, no, I'm not going to pick you up. You can get on the other couch. Hey, get on the other couch. And Henry, we don't necessarily want to have kids. We don't want to be changing diapers when we're 70, unless they're our own diapers. I'm not picking you up. Turn your sad puppy dog's eyes somewhere else. My dog's giving me the, please pick me up. Okay, go bark. Go over there and bark. So good night to you, Scotty. We appreciate you. For you, Henry. Take care, Scotty. Well, I would, to be honest. And look, and I don't mean legit to upset or offend you, but we've never. There are places in India that I would love to go. I absolutely would love to go to India to see some of the tourist places. You know, I think would be really cool. It is kind of low on my travel bucket list, partly because my wife wants to go to Europe and Greece and Italy and all those places first, and I would really like to go to Japan and Australia. So, but what I'm going to say is I have made a promise to a friend, and this is where I don't want you to get upset because I know sometimes India and Pakistan don't get along. I do have a very good friend who's from Pakistan, and very good friend, a super good guy who happens to live in the Philippines. And I have promised him someday I would come to that part of the world and I would like to see India on that trip, but I would go over to Pakistan also and meet his family and visit with them and do all of that stuff in his home country. So it's on the list. It's just not super high because instead of me going over there, what we're hoping is someday he can immigrate to the United States and bring his family here. Let's see. But if I came, I would do a live stream and I would be happy to meet everybody. I like to meeting our subscribers. We've met a bunch of them over the times. Miss Bai says, legit, I have a friend married to an Indian. They have one daughter living here. Wow. So I bet you well, that's what I mean. I mean, my friend who's from Pakistan, who's married to a Filipina, their children are really beautiful little kids. I mean, it's a good breeding combination for good looking kids. So I'm just saying that. I mean, it really is. It's a good geographical locations for that. Are you traveling before or after you buy the beach house? Well, both. It depends on how fast I'm able to get enough money to buy the beach house. You know, if I go to the Walmart today and I buy a lottery ticket and I win the lottery, well, then we're going to get the beach house purchased. And while we're waiting to close on it, we're going to go do some traveling. How's that one, Scotty? But seeing that, I barely have raised any money towards my $3.5 million goal beach house. Because, gee, for some reason, nobody seems to want to help me buy a beach house. We'll probably do the traveling first. And Scotty, I have decided I would just be happy if I could raise raise enough money just so that Lorelai never has a house payment after I'm dead. So, but yeah, the beach house is still a dream. With a boat, you got to remember, I got to have a beach house. Well, a house on the Intercoastal Waterway. It has to have a boat dock and a swimming pool, and a gourmet kitchen and an outdoor kitchen. But the boat is really important because you guys all know how much my wife loves to fish, and I would want to make sure that I take her fishing as much as I could just to keep my wife happy. Legit's asking, Filipina, where is she living here in India? I don't think they live they live in the Philippines. I think what she meant was legit that her friend is married to an Indian that's living in the Philippines. So they're probably living in the Philippines. I know my friend from Pakistan is living in the Philippines. He was my neighbor. So it all depends. And what I'm hoping, I need to go on a trip next year. We're hoping to go on a cruise next year. We're gonna maybe go to the Mediterranean. I would like to see the Mediterranean. So that's on my list. So legit, if you're asking how to immigrate to the United States, 11 people, if you're here, give us some thumbs up and join into the chat. Yeah, just buy some swampland in Louisiana, and it is swampland. It is swampland. But I like gator. I'd go gator fishing. So like just wondering how you can immigrate to the U.S. from India. I have $7 million, only want to live my life peaceably. Well, here's a couple things. If you have $7 million, I think you could probably live peacefully anywhere you want. If you're talking about USD, 7 million USD, 7 million USD is not as much as it probably is where you're from. So you would probably have a better quality of life in your home country than in America because everything's very expensive here. But you can apply for tourist visas to come here. You just got to prove that you have that you can pay for everything while you're here. You got to show that you have money in the bank in your home countries, but you guys can apply for tourist visas. I don't know the exact details for your country, but you can apply for tourist visas. You can apply for a work visa. I know that. I'm not for sure if you can apply just for immigration status or not because I'm not familiar with all of the immigration stuff for your country. So, but you can come here. I mean, we have, I mean, India, we, it's not like this country is restricted for people from India. It's not. Miss Bai is a no, and in the Philippines now. It's his daughter's 3 months ago, and he stayed here for a month. Oh, all right. So the man is bouncing back and forth between India and the Philippines. I got you. Oh, he's working. They're working cruise ships. Nice, nice. Um, I can tell you a lot of good stories about the cruise ship Filipinos that we've met and that we know personally. I want to talk about it, but I'll help legit out a little bit, guys. Can I get some job? Yes, IT jobs. We Walmart. Write this down. Walmart. 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 Walmart loves to hire people from India to work in their internet and call areas. So, Walmart. You can apply to Walmart and go through that. Driving, singing, and also a good writer, or maybe trucking companies. I don't know about singing, So, wow, I didn't know that, Filipina. You got a cousin working at Walmart in Phoenix, Arizona. Man, that's one hot ass city. Ugh, damn, man. Is she married out there or something like that? But yes, you can get a work visa to come here. You just got to apply for them. Well, yeah, Scotty's right. For $7 million, if you're talking about US dollars, you can live in the Philippines like a king for the rest of your life, literally like a king for the rest of your life. In America, not so much. But you can immigrate. All you got to do is go to the USG the immigration website, the United States. And remember, here's a tip I want to give you. If you're going to look into immigrating to the United States, only go to websites that end in .gov, .gov. Those are government websites. All the others, .coms, are fake business websites. Okay? Henry says he's done with the music industry. I make music every night, buddy. I don't know about you, but I make music every night. But the cruise ship industry, we love one. Everybody knows we love cruises, and if somebody wants to give me a free cruise, I would love to take it, as long as I can bring my wife. We love cruises. We've met more Filipinas and Filipinos on cruises than you can imagine. It's freaking crazy. I mean, freaking crazy. We've ran into Filipino couples that work the 10 months versus the 7, but they're a married couple. So they work the same cruise ship. They get the same apartment or cabin in the cruise ship. And because they're a married couple, they work 10 months together on the cruise ship. They go home for their 2 months and they come back. And we've met 4 or 5 couples like that their big goal is to make enough money that they can buy and own a place in 10 years. That's what it's usually a 10-year mark. So in 10 years, they will have way more than enough money to set themselves up to live in the Philippines permanently and not have any financial worries. We've just met so many people. So there's 2 parts to this. I tell single men, I've told a lot of my single friends, if you're too lazy to go to the Philippines to meet a girl, which I understand because I didn't want to do it either until I met Lorelai, take a cruise. Go on a cruise. Just make sure that if you start chatting up a cute young Filipina who's single, make sure they're single, just take a lot of pictures with her. Get her information, take pictures. Because you got to remember, all you have to have for a K1 visa is proof that you guys have met somewhere, not in the Philippines. It can be anywhere. It could be in Dubai. It could be on a cruise ship. It could be in Aruba. It could be anywhere in the world. Daisy, come here. Oh my God. Hang on. Come here. Come on. These dogs' life. This dog has a very hard and difficult life, don't you? Why don't you lay down and go to sleep? Where am I at? Oh, he's talking about $7 million his money. $83,000 is a very good chunk of money. It's not enough to do a whole lot of anything within the United States. But $83,000 could set you up in the Philippines. But 83 grand here won't. You know, that's hardly somebody's 1 year salary. So that's not so good. Gary's in the house, my retired life too. Sorry I missed you on Thursday night. That's all right, Gary. We appreciate you being here. Did you give us a thumbs up as you come in, Gary? Everybody say hi to Gary. Everybody say good night to Scotty. 83,000 American dollars. Not so great, to be honest. You know, one thing I do on my channel is I always speak the truth from my perspective. 83 grand's nothing. You know, most places you can't touch a house to purchase for under 200 grand, maybe 150 in some poor places. So 83 grand would be great for you to come on a vacation, enjoy America for a while. But if you're really wanting to retire or enjoy your life, I would take that 83 grand and see if I could immigrate to the Philippines or Thailand or something like that. But it would help you come for a vacation. I'm not saying you would spend 83,000, but you have money in the bank, so your tourist visa would be approved, and or you can just apply to a company here to come here and work. And we have, I don't know how many, maybe hundreds of thousands or millions of overseas workers working here in America. Gary saying hello to everybody. You can do a lot with 83K. You can get an apartment, a car, a job, and no problem at all in the Philippines. You can. So that's what you gotta think about. But do you want the Filipino lifestyle? Now, living in the Philippines is not like living in America. Living in the Philippines is not like living in Australia or Germany or Thailand. I mean, every country is different, is my point. China, Japan. So you have to figure out what your lifestyle that you want. What are you wanting to attain? Jack says, oh, you mean in America? Well, I don't know about that. 83K is not a lot here anymore. Okay, let's work this out, Jack. So yeah, you could go and rent an apartment where you're going to pay $1,500 a month, plus you can get a used car. You could drop 20 grand on a used car, and that would be decent enough to get back and forth. So, and then if you could get a job as a green card holder, then yeah, and you might have some cash left over. By the time you spend your airline tickets, your immigration fees, I mean, 83 grand just doesn't go very far in America anymore. I mean, but yeah, you could do it. You could do it. Gary says, high humidity in the Philippines, 100% at night. I know, I loved it. I know, I love the heat and the humidity. That's what I miss. I miss the humidity. But after a couple of years, Gary, you'll get used to it. So what you have to ask yourself, wherever you're going to live, whether it's working on a cruise ship, is that environment good for you? Is that the type of lifestyle you want? It's like young Miss Bai was talking about. She has a cousin that lives in Phoenix, Arizona. Well, Phoenix is a very expensive town to live in. Very, very expensive town to live in. So 83K get eaten up in Phoenix like nobody's business. If you went to maybe Gulfport or Biloxi, Mississippi, or parts of Alabama, southern Arkansas, 83K could go a longer ways. So it truly is where you want to live. Yeah, they do. They come here with a whole lot less money, Jack, but they also struggle. I know you haven't been here in a while, and you don't realize that a pack of hot dogs is $4 in America now. So, you know, things things don't go as fast as good as they used to in America with your dollar. That's why everybody wants to leave and go live in the Philippines. If their money was could stretch and stretch, they would stay here. Sure, I'll show you. This is just my backyard. Well, Jack, you're welcome to come back to the U.S. and live. This is just the backyard. Those are just tops of houses. Those are just hanging plants. And we live in the center part of the United States, so central United States. Yes, Jack, inflation is everywhere. I'm not saying that there's only inflation in the United States, Jack. I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to attack the Democrats, Jack. I'm not trying to do that this morning. I'm just telling you, things are not cheap in the United States anymore. They're just not. And if they were, all these people wanting to flee the United States to go live in third world countries wouldn't be doing it. So, you attack me. So, but you're welcome to come back, Jack, and you know that. I mean, I think you would probably prefer to live in the United States because of the life that we have here. And that's what you have to ask yourself. What is it that you're looking for in each country? Each country has its pluses and its minuses. And the United States has a great amount of pluses. It has a lot of negatives, just like everywhere else. The Philippines, a lot of people don't like the fact that it's so humid, like Gary, and it takes us a while to get adjusted to that natural environment. Legit is saying my backyard's beautiful. Yeah, it's not bad. Just looking at other houses. So rich people have really nice, nice views. I just have views of other houses. So nothing too fancy here. But so yeah, I think your 83 grand good. Yeah, it probably wouldn't last you a year, buddy. So, but that's okay. Each to each his own. To each his own. Let me see. Make sure I didn't miss anybody. No, no, no. I don't think money has anything. If you want to talk about being rich, let's talk about being rich. Because I do have some philosophies on being rich. If you're equating money to being rich, I think you're looking at it the wrong way. And financially or money wise, I am definitely not rich. I would be considered in the poor category. But I think if you're driven by money and you let money dictate your happiness, then you truly are miserable, right? That you truly have no clue about how the world really works. And I know a lot of people like that. I know a lot of people that are driven by the dollar. I mean, they will move heaven and earth just to get a dollar when they don't need the dollar. They will make themselves absolutely miserable scrapping for a dollar, fighting for a dollar, right? I have a different philosophy. I think even, and I learned this many, many thousands of years ago when I was a young man. I I did repossessions and collections as a very young man. I was a very big guy, very strong guy, and I worked with a team. I worked with this older guy who was like in his 60s. He's about my age now, which is kind of strange now that I think about this. He was really old back then, but I worked with him, and we were in this really, really, really poor part of America and doing some repossessions. And I ran into a bunch of people that at the time I considered to be extremely poor, extremely poor. And because we were in these areas, and I'm not talking about the person we were taking back their stuff from, I was talking about just people in that area. And I was always amazed, and it's kind of like the Philippines. I was always amazed how happy these people were. And I asked my friend one time, who kind of became a little bit of a mentor, I said, I asked him, I said, well, so why do you think these people are so happy when they live like this? And they're like, well, it's all about your perspective. And he told me, he said, I really want you to think about this. Think about your perspective. And you only know what you know. So if you've never experienced the good life, a multi-million dollar home or a boat, then you don't know that you're poor. You don't know it. And what people can be very happy with nothing. Look around the world at all of these third world countries and worse, where you have tribes of people and groups of people that barely eat food compared to like Western countries, or even the Philippines is wealthier than a lot of countries. But they're happy. So happiness has nothing to do with money. If you think your happiness is based on money, then that's your own internal problem. If you can't be happy and have no money and be happy, then that's on you. That's your problem. Because you can either choose to be happy or not, no matter what your financial situation is. And I've learned this the hard way myself, and I'm not great at it, and I'm not perfect at it. But I try to be happy because I want to be happy. I don't want to be miserable. I don't want to be miserable in life because I'm pissing and moaning about how much money I don't have. And I don't have money. We're poor. But I'm not going to piss and moan about it. Legit says, you're right, believe in your philosophy. Well, thank you. Well, Mark, you're asking the question, how much money do you live in the Philippines? Everybody's going to tell you a different story. I mean, somebody's going to tell you, you can do it for $500 a month, which I think is bullshit. Somebody's going to say $1,000, $2,000, $4,000, $5,000. None of that matters. None of that matters. What matters, Mark, is how much do you, or what lifestyle do you want to live in the Philippines or in America, right? Same formula for America. How much does it cost to live in America? What lifestyle do you want to live in America? Same thing in the Philippines. So you're going to get all kinds of BS crap about living in the Philippines and how much it costs. But it 100% speaks about your environment and how you want to live. We know people that live in the Philippines for $300 a month. They're Filipino, they live the Filipino lifestyle. From my perspective, they're poor. But from their perspective, they're happy because this is what they do. I know people that live on $5,000 a month USD in the Philippines. They have big, beautiful homes and multiple cars and they go and do anything they want to do, but they're no happier than that person making $300 a month and living in a nipa hut. So, but a safe bet is this. If you have an income, if you're a Westerner and you're used to a Western lifestyle, $2,000 a month is going to be more than plenty for you to live comfortably in the Philippines, because you're going to want air conditioning. You're going to want to pay, you're going to have to pay the electric bill. You're going to want internet. You're going to have to pay the internet bill. You're going to want a lot of food. You're going to get the food. You're going to want a car. You can live on, 1,500. But my safe bet, what I tell people is, I would think you need to target about $2,000 a month. I don't think, and here's what I'll say: you may not spend 2,000 every month, right? But there may be some months that you do. Some months maybe you only spend 1,000, because maybe you have a month where you guys just stay home and don't do a lot, but your rent is covered for 300 or 400, your utilities maybe 100 or two, whatever it may be. So it ups and downs. Gary says, Henry says, it depends on how you live. Exactly. Our budget in the Philippines, Gary is saying, my retired life is 50,000 pesos a month. Yeah. We didn't have a budget in the Philippines because we didn't need to have a budget in the Philippines. We just kind of did whatever we wanted to do. And we wind up, how do I want to say this? Not coming close to the budget we had in America. So for us, I don't know. I think our monthly expenditures in the Philippines, until we got hit by the super typhoon and all hell went to bonkers, we probably averaged 1,500 a month, I think, is what we did. But we ate out and we ran around and we paid for the taxis, and we had hanger honors, so to speak. So probably 1,500 to $2,000 a month is what we did while buying stuff that we needed and doing all that stuff. Gary says, at 50K, we still have about 10K left over at the end of the month. Yeah, see? You can do it. It really just depends. Jack says, people come here and blow thousands of dollars to live in luxury and just are absolutely miserable people inside and out. I agree, but that's the way it is everywhere. People come to America from other countries, or the people that live here are miserable, because it has nothing to do with where you live. It has to do what's inside of you, whether you're happy or not. And your geographical location can be a contributing factor or a variable in your happiness, without question. So where you're at plays a major role in your happiness, but it doesn't have to be the defining part of it. So, I think the perspective is, when you go to third world countries and you're dropping a lot of cash, what you start to resent it. Because a lot of guys I talk to say, I give you examples after examples, that they start to resent the fact that the people have no concern for your money. You maybe were in the military, it's your money, you worked hard all your life, and all of a sudden you get into an environment where people have no regards that that's your money, that you're the one that worked for it. Instead, they open up their hands and say, you must give it to me because you have it. You should give me your money just because you have it. I don't want to get a job. I don't want to do good in life. I don't want to not drink, not smoke, not do drugs. I don't want to get a job. I don't want to be responsible. But look, white guy, foreigner guy, I know you have money, and you married my sister or my cousin or my whatever, so you need to give me your money because you have it and I don't. And a lot of guys become very resentful of that. That's why it's not about the money. You know, you got to figure out what works best for you. And we talk a lot of times about a lot of guys that go to the Philippines become what we call weekend millionaires or vacation millionaires, which I think is fine. If you're going to any foreign country, because we kind of do this, we splurge. When we travel, when we go on cruises, we splurge. We do the best of the best that we can afford. I mean, we live it up. We go, yeah, we're going to go for the VIP tours and we're going to, you know, tip generously and meet people and have as much fun as we can because you're on vacation. But that lifestyle would not be sustainable because it makes you miserable. What I tell people, and this is going to offend a lot of you people, and you guys have all heard me say it, but you know, I'm happy to offend people. And legit, and maybe this is kind of one point for you. Claude is in the house. Good morning, Claude. How are you, my friend? We're glad you're here. We're talking about the Philippines. I'm going to try to change you, Claude. I keep making you a moderator, but I don't know what happens. All right. We're talking about the Philippines. Stopping in for a quick visit, of course. So, get my train of thought going here again. Here's what I think. And I've said this a lot. And you guys can criticize and hate if you want. I don't really care, as you guys all know. But a lot of the expats that run off to foreign lands to live, quote, quote, a better life is because they can't figure out how to live in their own country. Either they have family that doesn't want them, they don't want to put up with their alcoholism or their drug use or their bullshit anymore. So family becomes disenfranchised with them and they're loners because we don't want to put up with them in America. Maybe they can't get a decent job because of who they are, their personalities. Maybe they're deadbeat dads and they're trying to escape paying child support. So those are the ones, and then you have the ones that are just the sexpats that like to run off to foreign countries to live. Dennis in the house. Good morning, Dennis. Jack, good morning to Super Pack, Legend Jack. Claude is in the house. Everybody say hi to Claude. Claude and Dennis, everybody's catching up with everybody good. Thank you for the thumbs up, by the way, as you guys all came in. So I personally believe that's a big group of single men that go to the Philippines, Thailand, Mexico, other third world countries. The stud muffin of buy. Woo! Dennis is recognizing that Henry's a stud muffin of buy. Don't push them too hard. We're hoping for the best, but they got to get there yet, Dennis. We're hoping for the best, but we got to get them there. So we got to get that you know. Maybe they were just guys who want to go and enjoy the rest of their lives because they worked hard. Well, there is that category. There is that category of men who could live anywhere they want, who like the culture and the vibe, right? So, Claude, I'm not saying that they're not. What I'm saying is a lot of the guys are running from something. And what I'm not talking about are the guys that are married to women, to their wives, and they go to the Philippines for that. That's a different category. There's a lot of guys that get married, they want to go live in the Philippines and experience the Filipino life, enjoy their wife, the family, because maybe they no longer have a family in America. The kids are grown or whatever. Maybe they never had a family in America. So doing a Asian family, whether it's Philippines or Malaysia or other countries, gives them the opportunity to finally have that family that they never had. And maybe it's the quality of family that they never had. So So there are a lot of guys that want to go and live in other countries because they dig learning about culture and experiencing new cultures. But I'm going to say this, Claude, those guys could choose to live in the United States or in their home country, Germany, Austria, wherever, if they wanted to. They could be comfortable back where they came from. They don't have to go find a refuge somewhere else in the world where they might be able to fit in because they can't fit in or adapt to their own environment. So that's one thing I know. And maybe that makes people mad, and that's okay. But that's what I see. Mark is asking, do most of the Filipinos, like Americans, or do they see them as arrogant because they have resources? That's a good question. Does anybody in the chat want to answer Mark's question? Then I'll give you my opinion. Claude says, well, I've been married 2 times, and this is the best marriage I've been in. I agree, Claude. I tell people, and I preach it. I preach it to the heavens for anybody from any country. And I believe this 1000%. If you, I'm not, I can't, we can't say that there's not any good American women. But if you truly want to be happy and have a good wife, you should marry a Filipina. And Claude, you and I know this. You should marry a Filipina. You can't go wrong. You and I and Tate and others and Kiko who have been married to them forever and ever and Snapshot and everybody who we know, right? We get it. And yeah, when and and when we finally meet that Filipina that we get married to, we know that our life has just won the lottery. We know it. We know we won the freaking lottery. So Claude, I'm with you, buddy. I'm with you. I know one guy out here that won't ever explain anything about his life in the U.S. at all. I think he's hiding something and with a different girl from every time I see him. Okay, yeah, there's a lot of guys that are just out there. So, well, but Mark's question, did you guys see Mark's question? Let's answer Mark's question. Do a lot of the Filipino people think Americans are arrogant? Or do they, because we have financial resources? Or is it because of some other reason? I'm going to tell you, Claude's agreeing with me. Yeah, Claude, it's not to blow smoke up Filipinos' asses, but it's the freaking truth, right? Yeah, I should. I've gotten videos talking about women and dating and stuff like. I need to redo them. They're kind of old. I need to redo my videos about some of this because they are kind of old, Claude. Maybe you and I need to team up and do them together. Maybe that's what we should do, Claude. Because your marriage is a little bit younger than mine, and you have kids. I don't have kids, and we would make a good team to team up on this, Claude. So we need to figure that out because I think we're both on the same page. Mark, here's what my personal experience, and I can't speak for every person in the Philippines. Here's what I'm going to say. There's a couple things I've learned. When I go to the Philippines, I'm usually happier than I am in the United States because people are more polite to me. Now, granted, are they being paid to be polite to me? Yeah. Are they hoping to get money from me because they're polite to me? Yeah. But I'm okay with that. It's kind of like tipping your waiter. The more the waiter kisses my ass and the better job he does, the more money he gets. So I'm kind of okay with that. I will tell you because I try to be very humble. I know you guys are watching the going, how in the hell can David be humble? But when I travel to foreign lands or anywhere, I try to do one, shut my mouth and listen. I try really hard to pay attention to around me, what's going on, and I really try to listen before I speak. And I try to speak with respect because I'm one of these people, and we love to travel, that when I'm in somebody else's state, home, country, I recognize that that's their country. I'm a guest in that country, and I try to act accordingly. This is me. And I've been told many, 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 many times people were shocked by my behavior because I didn't seem to be the typical American who's loud, a drunk, cusses a lot, and bosses people around. That's been my experience. Been doing my old videos and it's working and getting the views. Yeah, I need to do that, Claude. I got a lot of video series when we first started about the Philippines and everything. I just need to kind of revisit the topic and redo them because, the topic's still relevant. I just didn't know what the hell I was doing back 4 years ago. Not that I know what I'm doing now. So, people are nicer in the Philippines. I agree. Henry says, I got to head out and take care of some business. Everybody take care. Yeah, and Claude is saying, yeah. So, my answer to that is yes. I think the Filipino population and populations of other countries think Americans are a bunch of arrogant assholes. Yes. That's my interpretation of what I think they think of us. Mark, if that answers your question. I had, um, I'm going to tell you a story, real life story. When we were in the Philippines, and you guys have all heard this, maybe if you've watched my old videos, where I've talked about when Typhoon Odette destroyed where we were at on Mactan Island, kicked the living shit out of us, which we were not prepared for, especially me, as somebody coming from the West, was not prepared for the hell that was rained down upon us. The building the infrastructure was gone, was not prepared for it. I met my neighbor who if I had millions of dollars, I would move mountains to get him and his family to come live in America. Like I said earlier, he's from Pakistan. He's married to a Filipina. They got two little kids now. A super guy. After that, he stayed in his house. I was in my house. Everybody else vacated. I don't know where they went, but everybody kind of disappeared for the most part. Lorelai and I got no help from anybody because there's no help to get. In a couple of days, um, when the road started to open up, a few days, because we were there for 10 days before we got to any place safe. So we were living in a concrete house that just went through a super typhoon and had no resources, living in a brick wall house, basically camping outside without any luxury. I mean, it was rough. We were covered in mosquito bites, and it was just when my heart was, you know. But the only person that came by to say, "Hey, is there anything we can do for you to help you?" And about day 8, I think it was, he said, "Look, the roads have opened up enough. Have you guys been able to get out and call your family back in America?" And I told him, I said, "No, we haven't. We haven't been able to leave here." And he's like, "Well, over on the other side of the island, one of the malls now has electricity and internet. So everybody goes there to get on the internet to make calls now." And he offered and drove us over there through hell so that we could get enough internet time to send messages back to the United States to let everybody know that we were alive. Because at that time, I didn't know it, but my people in the United States thought we were dead. My brother thought we were dead. Is what he thought. He hadn't heard from us. All he saw was what the news was saying, how many people died, and the whole destruction. He knew it hit dead center where we were. He knew enough geographically to know that. They thought we died over in the Philippines. They thought we were dead. So we got through. But so he became a really good friend. But later on, as things got better, before we were able to fly out, before the airports opened back up, and this goes back to what Mark's question was. He had some of his brothers over, not really biological brothers, but people of his faith and from his home country over at his house, and he invited us to come over. And we were all sitting outside. The guys were sitting outside. The girls were, I don't know where the girls were, and the kids were, I don't know, but us guys were sitting outside in the plastic chairs that you got to love in the Philippines. And we're all sitting outside talking. And I'm the only American and white guy there, and all these other folks are from Pakistan. And we're talking about cars and just everything in general. And at the end of the night, his, I want to say, kind of like mentor or older brother version, somebody that he looks up to and respected there, got up and shook my hand and said how nice it was to meet me. And he told me, he's like, it's shocking to me that you're the only American that I've ever met who could sit down and have a conversation, never used a cuss word, and listened to what everybody in the group had said. He said, from his experience from Pakistan, living in the Philippines, every American that he ran into so far was nothing but loudmouth drunks. That was their vision of what American men were. And from him living there, that's what confirmed to him until that night. And he said, I'm very excited to know that not everybody is like that. Mr. Sanders is in the house. Good morning to you. Claude's here. Good morning. Mark is here. Henry has left the building. I think Jack is still here, probably somewhere. We're talking about the Philippines and our wonderful wives and what it's like to live in the Philippines. We're talking about the perception of foreigners in the Philippines, what it takes to live there, anything and everything. And Claude has to go run and feed the children, which is a good thing. We don't want our children to starve. So, but that was something that I found interesting from his perspective, that he saw long before he met any Americans. He thought they were going to be rude and crude. And then when he got to the Philippines and started meeting Americans, because they had a business, that was true. He found them to be rude and crude. And so, Mark, maybe that answers your question. I don't know. I don't know what anybody else thinks that the Philippine people think of us Americans. I do think a lot of them just see us as cash cows. Sure, I do. I see that. I see a lot of people see us as cash cows or cash bulls. In some case, there might be some of you guys that are cash cows, but some of us are cash bulls. So, Mr. Sanders, how is your morning going? How are the kids this morning? Den is right. Yeah, absolutely. It's an ATM. There is that huge component of it. The other thing I was very disappointed was right after Super Typhoon, and we had nothing, and we'd only been there a few weeks in the Philippines, or maybe a month or so, whatever it was. Maybe 8 weeks. I don't know how long exactly it was. But Dennis, we had people asking us to give them money after the typhoon, but we had nothing. Our roof had a big hole in it. We had no power, little food, but yet they were asking us for stuff, wanted me to give them money. Claude, young Sanders is asking, what are you up to this today? It's Saturday, right? Saturday in my part of the country. It has to be. Ooh, is football on today? Oh, crap. I got to see. Yeah, Arkansas's playing Tennessee. Yeah, Lorelai, my wife is still asleep. She got in from work. She works the evening shift. She's an accountant type person, and she works the second part. So she gets home about midnight. And so she's still asleep. But we got to go to Walmart today. Go sooner. Oh my God. Ah, boo, boo, boo. Here's a funny thing for you, young Sanders. You're no longer my favorite. Lorelai, we were in Oklahoma, as you know, down to Durant, watched that concert, right? And Lorelai saw this, a sign that says "Go Sooners," and she asked me, she's like, "Well, what is a Sooner?" And I'm like, "Oh, those are people that live in Oklahoma, and they call themselves Sooners because they hate the place so much, and so they keep saying, the sooner I'm gonna leave, the better it will be." That's horrible to me, isn't it? That's horrible to me. But, uh, but Dennis, you're right. But Dennis, one thing I'll say, uh, um, doesn't everybody see us as ATM machines? If you perceive to have a dollar more than somebody else, don't you kind of see them, or doesn't most people see them as an ATM machine? I mean, I have a hard and fast rule in my life, and we know a lot of very wealthy people. We're not wealthy, but we know a lot of wealthy people. And we go to different events and we get invited and we go to different events with them. And a lot of times um, they would like to pay for the meal. I won't let them. I pay my share. I have a rule. We pay for our share no matter where we go, what we do. We pay for our own. If the person has 10 million bucks and they want to buy it, well, I don't do that. I pay for my own. I don't want their money. I don't want them to think I'm hanging out with them just because they're going to buy my lunch. And so Lorelai, I've made a hard and fast rule with Lorelai. When she goes out with these girls and they want to show off, the Filipinas want to show off and whip out that credit card and pay for everybody, she won't let it happen. She stops it and she pays her share, her bill. She pays her bill. And that's something that I insist upon. Now, there is a difference. I do got friends that maybe we go and have lunch together and we alternate. I buy lunch this week, next month they buy lunch, that type of thing. That's different. Dennis is asking if we're going to retire back in the Philippines again. No. And Dennis, we have lands in the Philippines and we like the Philippines, but after being there that year that we were there, with my health conditions and Lorelai, to be honest, she doesn't want to live in the Philippines. She thinks it's too difficult. She's come to the perspective of going, why would we live in the Philippines where we may or may not have electricity, may or may not have water, may or may not have food or the food that we want at the time, internet. Why would we want to be where people want to hit us up for money all the time versus living a higher standard of living in America? So we were both with that, kind of with that there's no logical reason for us to live. We can afford to live a decent life in America. So I don't need to live in the Philippines. I can live here. I'm not knocking the Philippines, and I'm not trying to say that. And I think if your heart is in the Philippines, then you should go live in the Philippines. If you feel like that's where you belong, you should go live there. We don't feel like we belong in the Philippines to live. We like Florida, Alabama. We like the South Gulf Coast of America. That's where we feel at home. But if the Philippines is calling you and you think that's your place to be, I think it's great. We just don't see that after living there. Dennis says, I agree with you. Nice to visit, except for the time change, the flight, and the cost. It is. Like I said, like I've told people, we've been invited to a very nice plush wedding in the Philippines in the spring. And granted, the wedding's only like a 3-day event. and they've offered to buy our tickets and all of that crap, and which I'm greatly appreciative of, which I don't want. But look, but the mere fact that we'd have to fly for 2 days to get there. The wedding's only going to last 3 days, then fly back because one, we don't have enough vacation time to take a month off to go hang out in the Philippines. If you're going to go to the Philippines from this part of the world, you really need to have several weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks that you or more that you can spend in the Philippines. Otherwise, it's brutal making that trip. It's absolutely brutal making that trip. And we don't like making that trip. So when we go, we like to spend a month there. And we can't do that in the spring, so we're not going to. And we really want to go on a Mediterranean cruise next year. So I'm working on that. We're going to spend Lorelei's vacation time and our vacation dollars on a cruise. Yeah, 2 days for the time change. It just, you really just got to get used to it. 2 weeks wasn't enough time for me. It's not. I mean, it's because you get 2 days to travel, you take a few days to recuperate. By the time you kind of get in the swings of things, you got to catch the plane to come back. It just keeps you discombobulated, and I don't like that. And we lived in the Philippines for a year. We've been there 3 other times, and we will go back. Absolutely, we plan on going back. We have land there. We're going to build some houses and turn them into rental properties. So we have plans that we got to go back and do things. But at this point, one thing I tell people is the Philippines is a really nice place to visit geographically. People wise, you can't beat them. They're great people, right? They're fun, they're happy, the food is good, the nature areas are good, but Philippines beaches and geographical locations like the Chocolate Hills are cool, are no better than anywhere else in the world. So you have so many other places in the world that have volcanoes and mountains and beaches and waterfalls and really cool things to see. I think you do yourself a disservice when you go to the Philippines and only stay in the Philippines. Our good friend Deacon is here. Good morning. Good morning to you. Young Sanders is back. He says, Dennis, I never had an issue adjusting to the time, but my kids did on the return trip. Yes. Well, Deacon, thank you for being here, buddy. Appreciate you. Thank you for the thumbs up. We've been making people, I think I've been making people mad this morning, giving my opinion. So, you know, but that's okay. I think I've offended a few people this morning. That's all right. What I don't, my problem is is not necessarily adjusting to the time. It's getting my body not to feel like crap after I've been on a plane and in airports for 2 damn days. It's like, oh my God, I just feel like human garbage. It's like, that's my problem. My problem is getting my body kind of back and going. That's my big problem. But I love the heat of the Philippines. I love it. Dennis says the Philippines people you visit have no idea the hassle and the turmoil on the body goes through to get there. Agreed. Agreed. Um, because one, most of them have never experienced anything like that. And some of them may be OFWs that fly over to, Dubai or India or wherever, or Australia. I don't know. But, we got a friend who got married last year. He's Filipino, but he's an American citizen now. And she's a nurse, worked in Dubai. And so OFW from Dubai in the Philippines. She's Filipina. And she's somebody who flew back and forth from Dubai to the Philippines on a regular basis, right, as a nurse. And when she flew from the Philippines to America, and they're young, these people are in their 30s, right? So they're young and healthy people. We picked her up from the airport, and after we got to know her a little bit, she openly admitted, even the trip, even for her, was shockingly difficult. It was more difficult than she thought it was going to be, flying from the Philippines to the United States. The mind, the body return to normal. Yes. So, but you got to ask yourself. Here's something I ask, and this is just, and this is not to chastise anybody. That's not what I try to. When I talk about things, I try not to poke fingers. I just try to poke. But why are there, if the Philippines is the greatest place on the earth for expats to go live, why are so many expats that go there leave there? Why don't they stay? I don't know the percentages. I know a lot of guys that go to the Philippines because they have a wife, whether they're legally married or common law married, and they settle down and they have a family and they are the happiest they've ever been in their life, and they would never give up the Philippines for anything. I know guys like that. They would never give it up for anything. But I think the majority of guys um, go and come back, myself included. You go and you come back. Then it says it's probably because of the infrastructure is subpar. My the dogs, the street, my I have my own ass wall. What are they? Oswalls or ass walls? Ass cows. Cows. I don't know. I have my own street dogs right here. So I don't need to go to the Philippines. I got my own damn street dogs. But I've noticed that over the years, how many expats go to the Philippines but come back. A lot of them don't, but a lot of them do. So if it was the greatest place on earth, nobody would come back. So there is downfalls. But I think that's the same thing for Thailand, Mexico. I know a lot of guys, a lot of expats, because before I got married to Lorelai, I was going to retire in Panama. I had a lot of things in works before I met Lorelai that when I left the college, I was headed to Panama to go live and to retire. And so I still follow a lot of groups or a lot of people, some different groups, expat groups from all over the world. And one thing I've noticed, it, no matter how bad expats talk about America or their home country, even Australia, and I got some in Germany too, and England, a lot of them seem to return to their home countries. Why? I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. Healthcare is a big issue. That's one of the reasons we would never retire there because we figured out pretty quickly that when I was struggling after Odette and I was having breathing issues and health issues, that they didn't have the infrastructure in place that I needed to take care of my health, without question. One bad episode for me would have ended my life in the Philippines. In America, not the case. So that's one of our big 6 people in the house still. Thank you for being here. We got a super chat earlier, by the way, from India, believe it or not. So we appreciate that. Yes, Panama looks interesting and calm. Daisy, you need to go somewhere else. Quit looking at me. My dog keeps eyeballing me. Well, Panama, one, it does do English very well. There's a large infrastructure for expats. It's very modernized. The healthcare is there. I think 4 hour flight from Los Angeles, if I remember right, Dennis. You probably know better than I do on that. But it's not a very far flight to get to Panama. If I remember right, it's about 4 or 5 hour flight. And so I was looking to retire in Panama. I mean, I was in the process of going, yeah, I think then I met Lorelai and everything changed, which is okay because you never know where you're supposed to be. But that's what I think about expats. I know guys that go to Thailand and they come back. Similar time zone, everything. That's correct. Fishing's good there. So the food's good. Um, I hear from a lot of people that when they go to the Philippines, that the poverty is shocking to them. So I knew this going into it. I knew how that the Philippines was a third world country, that it was heavily poverty because I've been around the community since I was 16, 17 years old. So I got that. I understood that. So it didn't strike me surprisingly how poor the country was, or how poor some of the people were in the Philippines. What struck me funny was how dirty the Philippines is, and I'm not picking on them, so don't do that. But how dirty the Philippines is. Yes, working remotely from the Philippines would be horrendous. It would be because you cannot count on the internet there. You can't. You just cannot. Need to be up all night long. That's right. Do you still worry about your health issue problems when you visit the Philippines? All right, Mark. Yes. The short answer is yes. The times that we've traveled to the Philippines, not to live, and even when we went there to go live there, here's one. Absolutely. So one, I knew that I had enough shelf life on my defibrillator that the battery wasn't going to run out anytime soon. Well, that's a good thing, right? But yes, I had every since I have bad lungs and a bad heart, and I have an autoimmune deficiency disease called sarcoidosis. All of this stuff wrong with me. My doctors gave me everything under the sun they could give me to boost up my immune system. I got every kind of shot, and I know a lot of people don't believe in getting shots and vaccines. I've had so many freaking things in my body over the years from working around chemicals as a teacher, all of these things. I'm not worried about it. I don't give a crap. You're not going to poison me. So I've had everything you could imagine, updated shots on everything. We also, when we travel, and this is not only for the Philippines, but something I do even when we go on a cruise, a month before I go on a cruise or to the Philippines or anywhere, I start taking larger doses of vitamin C, zinc, all of that stuff. I boost up my immune system when I travel, and then I continue it all the way through my travels. And this is part of what I tell people. One of the mistakes that we made living in the Philippines, or when we went to the Philippines, was I was still recovering from my ankle reconstruction surgery. That was a no no. We should have waited another year or so that my ankle was completely healed. Because my ankle, I still had to walk in a boot. It was a nightmare to deal with. It didn't work well. A lot of problems. So it was a huge mistake. And I encourage people, if you're going to go to the Philippines, go healthy. Um, and why is because you're going to have to walk. Walking in the Philippines is breathing in the Philippines. You're going to have to walk, but the streets are a mess. Sidewalks are non existent. Holes are everywhere. Standing water is everywhere. Dirt's everywhere. Um, Things to trip over are everywhere. So you need to go and be healthy. And I encourage guys that are healthy, like Gary at his, even at Gary's age. Gary's in good health. Gary should be really, really enjoying the Philippines because he's in good health. So if you're going to go to the Philippines, you need to be in good health. Give yourself a chance to enjoy the Philippines. Our friend from Argentina is here. Hello, hello, good to see you. I see that you're back. We appreciate you being here. Thank you for the thumbs up. Do you still? Yeah. So that's where I'm at, Mark, on health issues. Is I do everything to prevent. I kind of have a school of thought is I want to prevent a problem before it happens, and I do the best I can on that. I try to prevent things from happening before they happen. Um, Everybody say hi to friend Sanders. Red Horse is my man. I love Red Horse. Well, we've talked about that. If you're a beer drinker, if you get the opportunity, and if you've never had Red Horse beer, it's a Filipino beer, San Miguel beer. You guys definitely should try Red Horse. It's a very good beer. Now, I'm thinking of Red Horse, and maybe you guys that have been to the Philippines can all agree or disagree with me. I know I don't think Jack's on here anymore because he kind of got mad at me again, but that's all right. Um, to me, to me, it seems like the majority of foreigners that go to the Philippines drink a whole lot more than they would in their home country. I see a lot of them becoming bigger alcoholics than they are back home. I see that, and I say this from personal experience. And I'm not a big drinker, but when I was in the Philippines, I drank a whole lot more Red Horse than I would normally drink anything in America. One, it's hot, so you're thirsty, right? Maybe that's it. It is fairly cheap, comparatively. It is good, but the bigger issue is you have nothing else to do. Nothing else to do in the world but sit around in the Philippines and drink. So I think a lot of guys go there just to be an alcoholic. Friend says, okay, we appreciate you being here, friend. I hope your day is going great in Argentina. Yeah, we have in laws and outlaws and neighbors and everybody else that love to drink. And I mean, they love to, yeah, Gary's a stud. I agree. So I agree. But, and I don't want to pick on the alcoholics or the deadbeats that go to, look, and I know, you can agree with me or disagree with me. A lot of deadbeats go to America. I mean, go to the Philippines so that they can be bigger deadbeats and just drink and get drunk. But I drink a whole lot more in the Philippines than I do anywhere else. Even on cruise ships, I make sure that I enjoy myself on cruise ships. I will have really good cocktails on cruise ships, maybe one or two a day, especially at night, so I can go to sleep, so I can feel good to get up the next morning. Friend G Man is a good friend of ours called Gary. His channel is Retired in the Philippines, right? Let me find him and I'll tell you. I'll tell you what his channel name is. Get you so that you know. Where did Gary go? Gary's channel, and you guys should check his channel out if you haven't done it. My Reliar, Reliard, My Retired Life 2 is another one of our good friends' channel in the Philippines. And then, Jack has a channel also. Jack Hobson has his own channel. So Claude has his own channel. If you look through the chat, you should subscribe to him. Um, Young Sanders, do you have a channel? I can't remember. Um, but I encourage you guys to subscribe to each other's channels. All right, let me get caught up. So, because I'll tell you, and I told this, after the typhoon hit us in the Philippines, and destroyed me at least, we were in a transition hotel a few weeks after it, and I ran into a guy who kind of reminded me of Dennis Rodman. He was kind of funny, like Dennis Rodman, and has a quirky smile. And but he was like, I don't know, 78 years old, and he told me, I got talking to him because he spoke English, I spoke English, so we got to talk. Uh, okay, so Sanders does have a channel. Good. I think I've subscribed to your channel, but I will make sure today that I do that. I know I did. I know I did. But I was talking to him, and he asked, "What brought you to the Philippines?" I said, "Well, my wife and I, we've come here to resettle, but not working so well right now." He's like, "Hell, I've been here like 8 years." I'm like, "Oh, really?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "It's the greatest thing in the ever. The greatest thing I've ever done is moving to the Philippines." I'm like, "Wow, really?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "What? Let me explain something to you. I moved to the Philippines because I'm a horrible alcoholic." This is this guy talking. He's like, "I'm a horrible alcoholic. I came here so that I can just drink without anybody in my family wanting to know what I'm doing or why I'm doing it." Said, I'm retired military. I got plenty of money. I had me a little apartment in Mactan Island where we lived. And he's like, I got multiple TVs set up so I could watch sports from America. And every once in a while, I go out and find a girl to have sex with. Other than that, I drink 24/7, and that's my life, and that's what I want, and that's why I'm in the Philippines. And I'm like, well, okay. I'm like, wow, that's pretty, pretty damn honest, you know. You know. And of course, if you guys ever, he says he's a drunk, he's an alcoholic, and he came to the Philippines to drink himself to death. So, you know, yeah, you did. I knew. Yeah, I thought I did. Friends is what? So that's what people. A lot of guys do that. And whether you like what I say about men and the Philippines or not, it's my opinion coming from my personal experience. And I know for a lot of guys get beefy with me because it kind of touches. You know, they got to admit what I'm saying is correct. There's, you know, if you're offended by what somebody says, then there's a ring of truth to it. And what I can speak on is my knowledge from everybody I know there and here. But I will say, I think the Philippines is a great place to go visit. The women are great. If you want a wife, marry a Filipino. If you want a wife who's going to take care of you and be a part of your family and do all those things that most men want out of a life, you can't beat a Filipina. You just can't. I mean, the only reason I'm alive today is because I married a Filipina. If I wouldn't have been married to Lorelai, I would have been dead. There's no question. That coma, I would not have survived my coma. 1,000%. The only reason I'm alive is because I married a Filipina. Because I married Lorelai. Only reason. And that's the honest to God truth. That's why it's so important to me. 9 people, 10 people watching. Thank you all for being here. Make sure to do some thumbs ups and subscribing to the channel if you haven't done it. And that's why, from my perspective, it is so important for me to make sure she is financially taken care of when I die. I want her to never have to worry about making a house payment again in her life because she deserves that for everything that she's had to do to keep me alive over the years. And you got to give our women credit for that. And I think Filipino women have such of a nurturing about them, sometimes too much, but they're nurturers by nature. That's what makes them great nurses, right? Filipino nurses. I think there's something in them genetically that make them good nurses. And in turn, they become good wives, I think. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think Filipinos make good wives? I know Claude does. Put everybody else on the spot there, whether you guys think that or not. So it's just interesting. And I tell people, if you can't financially live where you're at, you're going to financially have trouble living where you're going to go. Because for a lot of people, it's not about how many dollars you have, but it's about how you manage those dollars. Daisy, come here. Come here. Come over here. You can get up there on the couch. Because here's what you have to understand. I know, dude. Dennis says, yeah, he's spot on. So, because here's what you have to understand. If you only bring in $1,000 in the United States, you're still only bringing in $1,000 in the Philippines. Got it? Your $1,000 doesn't become $2,000 because you move to a foreign country. It doesn't happen that way. That's not realistic. It's still $1,000 no matter where you live. It's absolutely about how you manage it. And The problem is most people can't manage money worth of shit. And I know a lot of people that cannot manage money. They can't manage and take advantage. I know people that are struggling. I do. And this blows my mind, and it's going to get me on a rant. I know people that financially struggle. And when they get a little bit of money, they blow it. And they don't plan for tomorrow. So if you don't have much money and you're barely scraping by, and somehow you get a bonus and it comes in and you go out and blow it on beer or cigarettes or hookers or gambling, you didn't get anywhere. You're in the exact same boat you were. So in a week or two, you're going to be back to pissing and moaning about how you have no money because you gambled it all away. Versus using that money to pay down a bill or to stock your refrigerator or your freezer or however you need. There's a beautiful hawk flying up over my head. Whatever you need to do to better benefit yourself. But people don't do that. Instead, what people do is they go blow it. I got an extra $100 bonus. I'm going to go buy alcohol. Woohoo, yay me, which is just crazy. I'm going to see if you guys can see that bird behind me. If he comes back. Let me turn my camera around. Try to get you guys to see that hawk. I don't know if you guys will be able to see him. If he comes low, you might be able to see this hawk. It's a red-tailed hawk flying. Right now, he's too high. There's a plane going by right there, a little prop engine plane. We have a private airport that's not very far from our house. I don't know if you guys, let me zoom in. You guys can't see him, can you? He flew away. Friend, just now. So, you can't feel sorry for those people that can't manage their money. And I'm sorry, I know money is hard to manage. 9 people still watching me. We appreciate you guys. 13 thumbs up. I hope everybody is subscribed to the channel. But if you can't manage money in America or Australia or Canada or Europe or the Philippines, you're not going to manage money anywhere else. You're not going to do it. In fact, if you go to a place where you think it's so much cheaper, you're going to be even worse at it. Come here. Come on. All right. Man, me and my dogs. Right. Just sit there and watch the audience. Read the chat. Can you read the chat for me? So Dennis agrees with me. I appreciate that, Dennis. Oh, here's my barbecue grill. I got the cover on it. I got to cover my sink today. My dirty sink needs the cover on it. I got to remember to do that and get some propane. So, for the guys that can't manage money in their own country, and then they run off to somewhere else, and they get themselves in a situation, whose fucking fault is it? It's your fault. Dennis, a huge percentage of Americans, Canadians are one paycheck away from, oh yeah, they are in tremendous debt. Gary's still in the house. Thank you for being here, Gary. I shouted out your channel earlier, so I hope you get a couple of new subscribers there, buddy. Dennis agrees. Dennis is recognizing that the G-Man is a hero, is Dennis's hero. So, you're right, Dennis. One thing I'll say this, because I really think people need to know this, especially if you're going to be involved in relationships with anybody from the Philippines. And I'm going to say this about other countries too, a lot of other third world countries, but I want to say it about the Philippines because I'm married to a Filipina. And I've lived there and been there and all that BS. don't feel like you need to give money to people in the Philippines. And I tell people all the time because we've probably sent $20,000 to the Philippines or better. But what would happen if you didn't exist? I told somebody this the other night who I was talking to. Well, my wife's family, this, or this. And I said, well, yeah. But grandma's going to die 12 times and they're going to have 1,800 birthdays a year. They'll get over it. What would happen if you did not exist? If you never came into that person's life, your wife's life, the Filipino people would still get by. They are more resilient at doing things with less than any other people that I know. They will survive. They figure it out. And that's something that my wife and I personally have come to understand. They will survive without us, without question. They will get food. They will eat again. Their electric bill will get turned on. The car we bought them, they can get their own car battery. You know what I mean? They will survive. And I told, let me get caught up there. Young Sanders said that he subscribed to your channel, Gary. And Gary, if you would subscribe to his channel, that'd be great. Our good friend from Argentina is, yay, he did. You're my first subscriber. Oh, you got, okay, we'll make sure and subscribe to your channel. Mark is saying, it's more than what we spend than what you make. Most people are material rich and cash. Oh, absolutely. Sanders is his first subscriber. Nice. Yeah, and I'll make sure and sub to you too. So you'll get a few subscribers today, friend. You will. So they are resilient people. They can figure it out. And I know this how I equate this upsets some people. It's kind of like feeding a stray dog. I know this analogy maybe is not very friendly. Good for you, G-Man. I'm very bad at managing money. Having a good partner for me is a blessing when it comes to, yeah, absolutely. Take advantage of each other's skill set because everybody brings something to the table. We just have to figure out what that is. When I was managing people, even though I was an instructor, I managed a crew of people a lot of times. And one of the things I would preach and say is, I need to figure out what their strong suit is and take advantage of it. So, my other dog is looking at me like I did something wrong. But that's the key. These people are resilient, but and this analogy maybe is offensive to some people, but it's like feeding a stray dog. If you start to give a stray dog a little bit of scrap food because you feel sorry for them, they're never going to figure out how to get their own food, right? They are literally going to be coming back day after day looking for a handout. And that's what happens when we make people from third world countries dependent on first world people. When you marry somebody and you start giving out money to their family, because all of a sudden, now that you got married to their daughter, their cousin, their sister, somehow they can no longer function. They can no longer pay their bills. They can no longer buy diapers. They can no longer buy food because you married their daughter. Somehow this all happens magically. It's BS. It's BS. So that's where the stray dog syndrome comes in. And so I tell people to guard against that. Now there is a difference. Dennis says, I despise the word sponsor, me too, and budget. I agree, Dennis. We've talked about how much I hate the word sponsor. Hate it, hate it, hate it. But I will tell you on this part is when you're dealing with money in the Philippines, use their own words against them. I've learned to tell people, instead of saying, look, I don't want to waste money on that. I don't want to buy that. I don't want this. I don't think that's a good value. I just simply say no budget. No budget. I turn it around. No budget. G-Man, it's very late for you. Yeah, it's late. Yeah, it's midnight for him. So, 11 people still in the house. Thank you all. So I think it's very important to understand that they will survive without you, without your money. I do think there's a little bit of a different. Gary says it's 11:50 p.m., almost midnight there. Most people make mistake of trying to borrow their way out of debt. Absolutely. You can never borrow your way out of debt. You can never borrow your way out of debt. That does not work. The only thing to work is to cut your expenditures and increase your revenue. Period. Period. I do think there's a difference between the people that want to, like, let's say, and my wife doesn't have, but let's say my wife's mother was alive and she lived by herself in the Philippines, hypothetically. So mama or mother-in-law lives by herself in the Philippines, and we have plenty of money. We don't, but if we did, and if I wanted to send mama 300 to 500 bucks a month every month to make her life much better, I have no issues with that. That I don't see as a problem. What I would see as a problem, my advice would be if mama's living with a house full of people, cousins and daughters and nieces, and they're all begging you for money or expecting you to send them $500 a month, that's bullshit. But if you got mama who's old and elderly, can't work, and the daughter wants to support that, that's fine. But if you got a house full of able bodied people who's not working just because sister is married to an American, man, you're setting things up for disaster. Wow. I think over 3 billion people make less than $10 a day. Wow, that's an interesting thing. G Man is my retired life too. You see him up here in the chat. It says my retired life too. He has the wrench. He's a blue. He's in blue. He's the one that just typed 11:50 p.m. His name is Gary. So and the G Man would be Gary. So the G stands for Gary, the first letter of his name. So he's a good friend. So we call him the G Man. And you guys can both subscribe to each other's channels. Yeah, being born in North America is like winning the birth lottery. Yeah, it is because you become a citizen of one of the top countries in the world, either Canada or America, right? Technically, Mexico's in North America, but we don't count them. but, but that gives you citizenship, which gives you power, right? That's what that does. That gives you a lot of power to say that you're a Canadian citizen, to say that you're a United States citizen. That gives you power and open up lots of doors. But yeah, I want to talk. Let's see here. And no debt is good debt. There's a misnomer that the people that want to loan you money tell you. You know, good debt is like a house. Granted, we all have to go into debt to buy a house because we just don't usually have the money to pay cash for a house. But it's still not good debt because you know why it's not good debt? Because it's not making you any money. You're paying interest on that debt. So there is no good debt. A car is a horrible debt. We pay cash for cars. We don't finance cars. We don't do it. We pay cash. There is no good debt. Remember that. Dennis is saying Americans and Canadians both, most of them are entitled and have no idea about the rest of the world. I agree, Dennis. I agree totally. I will say that at the college, I had international students working with me all the time from all over the world, all kinds. And I will openly admit the first time I went to the Philippines, I figured out I knew nothing. As much as I've been around the Philippine community and international students. I thought I had a pretty good handle on a lot of things, especially being around the community since I was 17, 16 years old, right? Knowing Filipino people, eating their food. But I will admit, the first time I landed in the Philippines, I quickly realized, oh shit, I know nothing. I know nothing about their real world. My world and their world are two different worlds, and I truly know nothing. I got an education quickly by being boots on the ground. And I don't care how much YouTube you watch, or National Geographic, or History Channel, which I love, you watch, you don't have a clue until your boots are on the ground. And I encourage you to go put boots on the ground. I encourage you to go to foreign countries and see how other people live. Even before I made my first trip overseas, I would tell my college students the best thing you could do when you graduate is not to get a job in America. The best thing you could truly do is get a job working overseas somewhere. Take your education, your skill set, use it to go travel the world. Go experience life. Because when you land in another country, it opens your eyes up to so much possibilities. Your knowledge will expand beyond belief. So travel, young people. Then when you're done traveling, come back if you want to come back to the US, settle down and enjoy the rest of your life. But you need to travel to truly be awakened in the world. Carl, you killed it. Beats is in the house. Thank you, Carl, for being here. We appreciate you. Thank you for the thumbs up, Carl. If you haven't done that, please subscribe to my channel as you come in. We greatly appreciate you for that. Actually, Mexico is so further advanced than the Philippines. I would agree. Uh, most Mexican people want to stay in the Mexico. That's right. The Mexican people are not the ones. There's a misunderstanding a little bit. There are a lot of people from Mexico that want to immigrate into the U.S., but most of the people sneaking across the border is not from Mexico. They're not. Henry is saying good night. Good night to you, Henry. We appreciate you. Sorry, not Henry. Henry's already gone. Gary. Gary, we appreciate you, buddy. Get some rest and keep enjoying the Philippines, buddy. So that's something that we have to understand. We need to travel to truly understand and grow as people who we are. So I'm a big fan of this. I would tell people all the time, look, you got a degree, you got a skill set, go work for a company where you can go work overseas. Let somebody else pay you to travel and see the world because you will become a better person for it, without question. And I really believe that because I believe that the international students who left the countries in Africa and Europe and Asia to come to America to study became better people because they experienced American life. And I kept up with a lot of them over the years. And a lot of them went back appreciating their own country better than America. I would get emails later on from my former international students checking in and saying hi and saying, we got our degree in engineering. I am so grateful to be back, in Uganda, wherever it was, because, we have a better life here. We fit in better. Our education has allowed us to really move up the food chain from America. So now we're a big person in my own country. So I am so thankful for my time in America, but I don't want to live there. I want to live in my home country. And I want to do great things in my home country. So I think it is great to travel both ways, both sides of the coin. So kind of a long rant this morning, but it is what it is. So I just encourage you guys to be you, do what works best for you. Don't take advantage of people, male or female. Just be you. And the other big thing I'll say before we get off here, everybody, because I'm going to get off here, we got to go to Walmart today. And we got to go to the dollar store. And that's a store, if you don't know, where they give away dollars. So we got to go there and get some dollars. But don't be a bitcher and a whiner. If you don't like where you're at or the situation you're in, change it. The only person that can make change in your life is you. If you're sitting around waiting for people to change your life, you got a long wait. If you're sitting around waiting for a beautiful woman to marry and all you're doing is sitting in your backyard like I am, and you're waiting for them to knock on the door, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So if you want to change your world, your life, you have to do it. You're the only one that can change your stars. Okay? That's my advice. You're the only one you can change your stars. And I promise you, bitching and whining and crying about it isn't going to work. But all right, I think that's it for me, guys. We will probably see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning. It's warming up nice and hot here, so I'm out here sweating to death. So, but we got to go to Walmart and do a bunch of errands, and we appreciate everybody being here, whether you like me or not. And I appreciate you. So take care, everybody. See you later.